Hi everyone, good day. I'm Leah, BS in Applied Mathematics 4 at UPV, and today I'll be sharing you my experience in taking Math 195 or a practicum during the mid-year. For questions or clarifications after this presentation, please feel free to send me an email at lgshoko@up.edu.ph. So without further ado, let's get started. So for my mid-year, I actually worked in two different companies. The first one being an international management consulting firm called Boston Consulting Group, or BCG for short. And the second one is actually an up-and-coming incubator called Founders Launchpad through AHG Labs' first cohort of portfolio startups. So for these two different engagements, I was in Manila for the face-to-face components, and then for the synchronous but online components, I did it all via Zoom and our workspace on Notion. And now let's get right into BCG. We were able to train under a BCG buddy who was an actual employee who guided us throughout the program, which ran from July 21st to August 4 in a hybrid format. And as you can see in these photos, we are only 20 BCG Emeralds. And this program has a very competitive 8 to 10% acceptance rate. So for example, for this July 2023 cohort, there were about 250 applicants, and previously about 200 the last year. But for now, I want to talk more about the recruitment process. So for this specific program, I was actually invited to apply because the BCG recruiting process opens applications by invite via LinkedIn. So I highly suggest that if you don't have LinkedIn accounts yet, please create one. Recruiting manager would look at students who have experience in case competitions. So it could be a university level competition, it could be a local, regional, national, or even international competition. As long as you have experience in case comps, that would be a good thing. So in my case, I have been joining case competitions since freshman year. And most of these competitions, as you can probably tell, are all online. I would say that in the case competitions that I would always include my placement, or if I want top 1, top 2, top 3, I would place that on my LinkedIn account. And I think that's also one of the reasons why I was tracked by the recruiting manager, because of the fact that I had all these experiences and accolades based on the background that they were actually looking for. So highly suggest that if you're interested in something like this, to join as many case competitions as you can. So as you can see in the photo, this was a message I got from the recruiting manager. And I wouldn't have gotten this message had I not been so public about my achievements on LinkedIn. Going back to number 3, after you apply, you do a 20 to 30-minute interview with the HR manager. And after that, if it's a good fit, she will send you a reviewer for the final test and interview. And then after that, I took the test, and then the next day I got the results, and successfully I was able to make it to the program. So when I got in, this is what my experience looked like. So I had a mix of face-to-face and online experiences. These are the different meetings that we would usually have, and it's done over Zoom. While for the face-to-face components, these were case cracking sessions, networking nights, and our culmination dinner. One good thing about this program is that you are given an allowance. So we would get reimbursed for our Grab rides. We also had obviously like free meals when we were at the office, and also when we would do all these networking events. And this is where my explanation of what my day-to-day activities looked like. So the clients of BCG, for example, or other management consulting firms like McKinsey or Bain, etc., are also other big companies. So you kind of dip your feet into different industries and you just don't get stuck on one. And I think that's what I really love about it. So for example, during my time, although we weren't given actual BCG cases because they were too confidential, what we were given were like dummy cases that were either done before or were actually just made up because we couldn't handle real cases. They were just that sensitive. But what I love about it is that we would tackle cases in the health industry, in the tech industry, in the financial industry, in the public governance industry, etc. And I think that just was super interesting for me to see the applications of mathematics in all these different realms. And if you would ask me what specific class is important, I really couldn't name one, just because, as you can see here, the approach to the solution is more important than the final solution. So our mathematical background is something that management consulting firms like BCG is actually looking for, because most of their hires are in accounting or in economics or business backgrounds. And they really want a diversity in terms of intellectual training. And so they're looking for more people in STEM, like engineering, mathematics, etc. So I highly suggest, if you're interested, just go for it, because they actually want people like us. The problems that you tackle are actually, very diverse. It could range from profitability to market sizing, capacity expansion, etc. Obviously, all of which will include mathematics. So we would be given a case and we would work in teams. Sometimes you would work in a pair, sometimes in a group of 3, sometimes in a group of 4, and you would solve a problem. So your BCG buddy or the person kind of like mentoring you would give you a question, and then you would be given like 1 to 2 minutes to plan your approach, and then 12 to 15 minutes to dissect the problem live. And the last part of the whole case would be like asserting your conclusion. So it's technically like just the whole experience of solving a math problem, but verbalizing it and really walking your client through your approach. So while it's important to be quick in math because of just the time limit, it's also even more important to really walk through the problem out loud. So it's important to be conversational and it's important to be empathetic. Basically, that's what we do. And after the entire program, we had a culmination night where we were able to get certificates. We also had like a bunch of BCG good. Management consulting is a very lucrative career, and I highly encourage you to, I would say, explore it first, and if you like it, and then try to commit and see where you can specifically practice. So for the first few years, we were told that we would be general practitioners, but after 2 to 3 years, you would be able to specialize in an area. It could be in finance, it could be in consumer goods, it could be in social impact, etc. But yeah, those first few years, and specifically during this Emeralds program, we were able to really dip our feet into all these different categories, and that was super interesting for me. And this is where I end my BCG experience and move on to my experience at Founders Launchpad. So Founders Launchpad, this was also a hybrid experience. I was a data analyst, and this is actually the team. So like I said, this is a very international team. My bosses are from Austria, Germany, and New York in the United States. So a lot of the times I was not just working with them, I was also talking to their startup founders that they invested in. And this is something that was very much fun for me. And I'll walk you through my day-to-day activities in a while, but for a context, Founders Launchpad is an incubator and an investment firm. So this program is the first cohort or the first group of startups that they invested in. So my role was very much flexible. So I was one of the first data analyst interns, and it was me who kind of solidified the actual roles. So this was very hands-on, unlike in BCG, where I had like a complete list of what I can and cannot do. For Founders Launchpad, because this was a startup, my role could easily also go into marketing, or it could also easily just be like secretarial work and not so much in data analysis. But I'm glad that I was really able to do a lot of research and actual data gathering and data analysis for this. But nonetheless, let's move on. So for my day-to-day job responsibilities, I've listed them down here. And as you can see in the photo, this is a hybrid experience. So even when I was there in the office, some of the startup founders that we worked with were all online. So it's important, obviously, to have good functioning laptops, to invest in like good tech, and also just as much as possible work in a place where it's conducive, specifically because majority of my internship here was all online because I had to leave Manila during the second half of August. And so this was actually one of the challenges that I faced, but nothing that couldn't be handled because all of my responsibilities are pretty basic. But I would say the hard part is really assisting with the evaluation and selection of startups for the program, including industry analysis on trends and competitors. So I will explain later why it's hard. It's mainly because it's all these startups are competing in different markets. So as a analytics intern, I had to make sure that these startups, regardless of what their industries were at the top of the game. And giving suggestions on how they could maximize their reach, also helping forecast TAM, SAM, SUM, or basically just the growth of the market they're in, is something that I did. And these are the 6 startups that I actually helped build their pitch decks, their investor pitch decks with. I did a lot of the marketing / data gathering for these startups because although the founders were hands-on at the time, they were more focused on implementation. So a lot of the brain work fell on me as a data analyst intern. So I built MedsGo, item count, and Resbin's pitch decks. And then these other 3, Safe, KeepUp, and Superfaya, just a little bit of help for the other data analyst interns that I was working with. But overall, the work that I did here at Founders Launchpad was, I would say, as fun as BCG, but I would say a little bit harder in the sense that it wasn't just one role. Compared to BCG, it was very specific. I knew what I had to do. I really didn't have to spread myself too thin. Whereas for this role, since like I said, it's a startup, it's the first cohort, it's like you're walking in the dark, but I would say it's doable. And honestly, I think it was a fun learning experience for me to be able to work on such a fast-paced environment where I got the chance to work in all these different departments. Overall, my experience in Math 195 was very good. I highly suggest that if you could choose to take it, I recommend you take it. If you could go to Manila for it, highly recommend go to Manila. The environment there is just so much more, I would say, career focused, career oriented, and the opportunities are much bigger compared to when you're in the province. But obviously that's a challenge, constraints in budget, and just finding resources to be able to sustain yourself while you're there is a challenge. So I must say that one of the reasons why I was also able to pull these through was a lot of privilege. But if you can raise funds before, and if you're thinking about it now, highly recommend looking for grants. I think there are a couple available online. Or if you also want to raise your own funds, then you could probably start working. Either way, I wish you the best in Math 195, and I hope you guys and girls learn a lot from this experience. And if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to message me at my EP mail right here. That's all. Thank you.